Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Today I'm reading part 8 of Ananda, Guardian of the Dhamma. The author is Helmut Hecker. Ananda's former lives. Ananda's original aspiration to great discipleship was formed under the Buddha Padumuttara, 100,000 eons in the past. The Buddha Padumuttara was the son of King Nanda, who dwelt in the royal city of Hamsavati. His younger brother was the crown prince, Samanhakamara, who reigned over a fiefdom given to him by his father. Once, the Buddha was dwelling at the capital with a retinue of 100,000 monks. Samanhakamara went at his father's behest to suppress a rebellion in the border region. When he returned to the capital, his father offered him a boon, and the prince chose to conduct the Buddha and his Sangha to his own city and attend on them for the 3 months of rain's retreat. The prince had been extremely impressed by the Buddha's personal attendant, a monk named Samana, and observed him closely during the rainy season. At the end of the 3-month period during which he had provided the Buddha and the Sangha with all their requirements and attended on them with great devotion, he prostrated himself at the master's feet and dedicated his merits to the future attainment of the post of personal attendant under a fully enlightened one. The Buddha looked into the future and told him that his aspiration would come to fulfillment during the dispensation of the Buddha Gautama, 100,000 eons in the future. From that day on, it is said, Samanhakamara felt as if he were already walking behind the Buddha Gautama carrying his bowl and extra robe. In the Jataka stories, we often find prominent characters identified as earlier incarnations of Ananda. What is most striking in these tales is Ananda's extremely intimate connection with the Bodhisattva, the future Buddha Gautama. Often he is the Bodhisattva's brother, son, father, assistant, colleague, and friend. The 3 examples of former lives given here stress his own exertions to perfect his virtue. A complete survey of his former lives would show that he was only seldom a deva or an animal. Most often he was a human being. In this respect, he contrasts with Anuruddha, who almost always appears as a deva, and with Devadatta, who appears most often as an animal. Ananda and the Bodhisattva were born as cousins among the outcasts or Kanadalas. Their job was the fumigation of malodorous places. In order to escape the contempt they were held in, they disguised themselves as young Brahmins and went to the university at Takasila to study. Their deceit was discovered and they were beaten up by their fellow students. A wise and kindly man ordered the students to stop and advised the 2 Kandalas to become ascetics. They followed this advice in due course died, and as punishment for their deceit were reborn as animals, as offspring of a doe. They were inseparable and died together by the arrow of a hunter. In the next life, they were Seahawks and again died together because of a hunter. With this, their existence below the human level came to an end. Ananda was born as the son of a king, and the Bodhisattva as the son of the royal chaplain. While Ananda held the higher position in a worldly sense, the Bodhisattva had more innate abilities. For one thing, he could remember all the above 3 lives, while Ananda could only remember his life as a Khandala. At the age of 16, the Bodhisattva became a sincerely striving ascetic, while Ananda became king. Later, the Bodhisattva visited the king. He praised the happiness of asceticism and explained the unsatisfactoriness of the world of senses. Ananda admitted that he realized this but could not let go of his desires, to which he was held fast like an elephant in a swamp. Thereupon the Bodhisattva advised him that even as a king, he could practice virtue, for instance, by not laying unjust taxes and by supporting ascetics and priests. But when hot passions arose in him, he should remember his mother, how he could have been completely helpless as a baby, and without a mother's care, he would never have become king. Thereupon Ananda resolved to become an ascetic, and both attained to the Brahma world. The Bodhisattva had been born as a poor laborer and endeavored to keep the apasta. As the fruit of this, he was reborn as a king. Ananda lived in his kingdom as a poor water carrier. His whole fortune consisted of a coin which he had hidden under a stone in a certain place. When the people of the city held a festival, the water carrier's wife urged him to enjoy himself too and asked him whether he had any money. He said he had 1 coin, but it was 12 miles away. She told him to get it and said she had saved up the same amount. They could buy garlands, incense, and drinks with that. Ananda set out in spite of the midday heat, happy in the expectation of enjoying the festival. When he passed through the courtyard of the king's palace, he sang a song. The king saw him and asked the reason for his joyfulness. He answered that he did not notice the heat as he was being driven by hot desire, and he told his story. The king asked how much his treasure amounted to, maybe 100,000 pieces. When he finally heard that it was only 1 coin, he exclaimed that Ananda should not walk through the heat, but that he would give him a similar coin. Ananda replied that he was very grateful because then he would have 2 coins. The king then offered him 2 coins, but Ananda said he would fetch his own coin nevertheless. The king now became excited and raised his offer to millions, the post of viceroy, but Ananda would not let go of his coin. Only when the king offered him half his kingdom did he agree. The kingdom was divided up, and Ananda was called King One Coin. One day, the 2 kings went hunting. When they became tired, the Bodhisattva put his head in the lap of his friend and fell asleep. Then the thought came to Ananda to kill the king and rule the whole kingdom by himself. He was drawing his sword and then remembered how grateful he, a poor yokel, should be to the king, and how wicked of him it was of him to allow such a wish to arise. He put back his sword in his sheath, but even a second and third time he was overcome by the same desire. Feeling that this thought might arise in him again and again, and could lead him on to very evil deeds, he threw away his sword, woke the king, prostrated before him, and asked for his forgiveness. The Bodhisattva forgave him. The Bodhisattva forgave him and said that he could have the whole kingdom, He himself would be very satisfied to serve as a viceroy under him. But Ananda replied that he was finished with his lust for power. He wanted to become an ascetic. He had seen the cause of desire and how it grew, and now he wanted to pull it out by the roots. He went to the Himalayas and practiced meditation. The Bodhisattva remained in the world. The Bodhisattva was a righteous king of Benares who practiced the royal virtues. He gave alms, followed the precepts, and offered the Apusata days. Now one of his ministers carried on an intrigue in his harem. When he was caught, the gentle king waived the death penalty, only banishing him and allowing him to take his family and fortune along. The minister then went to live at a neighboring king's court. He became the king's confidant, told him that he could easily occupy Benares because its king was much too gentle. But the neighboring king, Ananda, was suspicious because he knew well the strength and power of Benares. The minister advised him to experiment. He should destroy one village of Benares. If any of his men were caught, the king would probably even reward the prisoners. Sure enough, when the marauders were brought before the Bodhisattva and lamented that they had plundered out of hunger, he gave them money. This served to convince Ananda of the truth of the treacherous minister's words, and he marched into Benares. The commander-in-chief of the Bodhisattva's army did not want to defend the kingdom, but the Bodhisattva said that he did not want to be the cause of harm for others. If the other king wanted his kingdom, he should have it. He let Ananda capture him and put him into prison. There he practiced loving-kindness meditation for the rapacious King Ananda, who was struck down by a fever and plagued by a guilty conscience. Ananda answered the Bodhisattva's pardon, returned his kingdom to him, and swore to be his ally forever. The Bodhisattva returned to his throne and spoke to his ministers about the virtues and rewards of harmlessness, saying that because he had made peace with the invaders, hundreds were spared death on the battlefield. Then he renounced his throne, became an ascetic, and attained the Brahma world. Ananda, however, remained king. Here's the quote of the day. The only real failure in life is not to be true to the best one knows. Work out your own salvation. Do not depend on others. May every living being, our minds is one and radiant with light. Share the fruits of peace with hearts of goodness, luminous and bright. If people hear and see how hands and hearts can find and give in unity, may their minds awake to great compassion, wisdom, and to joy. May kindness find reward. May all who sorrow relieve their grief and pain. May this boundless light brave the darkness of their endless night. Because our hearts are one, this world of pain turns into paradise. May all become compassionate and wise. May all become compassionate and wise. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha. Namo Fundamental Teacher Shakyamuni Buddha.